Are we live? Are we live? I think we are. We are live. Okay. Okay. What's up? What's up? There go David right there. Let me see who we at. There's something wrong with it, right?
Yeah, something's wrong with it. I'm gonna grab the iPad.
Okay, waiting on David. What's up? What's good?
Hey.
Hey, how are you, man? I'm a couple minutes late, man. My phone had froze up, so I had to use my wife's phone. She got my Instagram on her, so upload.
That's all right.
So
This
how
whole
you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm really good. Thank you so much for doing this, and inviting me.
Yes, thanks for
This is
being
really
on.
cool.
Thanks for being on.
Wow.
Is your mom Cassandra, or
That's my wife.
that's your wife? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, okay. I was like, oh, I can't see who is this person. I saw the last name,
Yeah.
so I was like, oh my goodness. She's very supportive. As soon as we put it up, she was like sharing it and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
that's
Thank
good.
you. Yeah, she's so supportive. It's funny that you're like, is that your mom? Because she does support me so much that I don't want to compare her to I'm looking over at her. I don't want to compare her to my mom, but
Yeah.
she's so supportive. I can see how that could be mixed up. She's amazing.
Yeah. I just looked at the last name and just thought that.
Oh yeah.
Just like my wife, very supportive. So that's good. I'm gonna wait a few minutes to maybe like 2 minutes because we started a little late, just so people can get on and everything. So you're in Virginia now, right?
I'm in what?
Virginia?
No, I'm in Williamsburg. I'm in Williamsburg, New York.
Oh,
So
New
I'm here in
York.
Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's nice over here, man. So you're in Atlanta.
Yeah, we're in Atlanta now, man.
I love it.
The South. I'm from Georgia, so it's familiar territory. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I've got a lot of friends in Atlanta. There's a really big puppet scene in Atlanta, and I
Really?
was there twice last year. And I was also I had a film come out, and we premiered at no, we didn't premiere there, but we showed at the Atlanta Film Festival.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah,
All right.
I like it up there.
First, before we get started, I want everybody to know I appreciate everybody that's on live with us. We have a Dope Men Soul Facebook group, which is super new. A lot of great makers on there, men and women. You have a lot of women that sells a lot of menswear. So it's also a great place for inspiration, sharing resources, and just a place to have a platform to just have people with common goals and all kind of stuff that's that we share and love, our passions. So this is episode 10. All right, so welcome to Dope Men Soul episode 10. Today's guest is David Bizzaro. And when I saw your stuff, man, I just got so excited because it's a different world that I'm used to. But again, you still have the creativity that what I'm saying, all makers have. So I'm excited to hear the rest of your story, man. First, let's just start. A little bit of background about yourself, where you're from, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I thank you so much for letting me come on here as a guest. This is really, really fun, and I'm a member of Dope Men So on Facebook, and yeah, I highly recommend others join. I love it, and it's also kind of surreal because I've watched some of your videos as well, so it's cool to be on here with you.
Nice.
But yeah, so I was born in Southern California, and have been slowly moving east. When I was 16, I moved to Oklahoma. I was there for a little while. And then my wife and I moved to New York City and lived in Manhattan for about 7 years. And we moved when I was about 28. And I'm now 36. And so we've been here since. But with my background, so I'm first generation Latinx American. And my mother came to this country from El Salvador. And
okay.
That's a big part of, who I am. Like, I grew up with her supporting me in, she would always say, like, you need a trade. You have to have a trade. But that was also, like, being an illustrator, being a painter. Like, she really stressed that. But she also let me explore my creativity. And I was telling her today, actually, that I have really these fond memories of growing up watching her sew clothing for me.
Really?
And yeah, and like her showing me how a sewing machine works and me sitting on her lap. And so, you know, she's been such a huge inspiration for me as a creative person through my whole life.
Okay, so tell what's your background? Like, I know a lot of people is probably interested on that. I know I am. I know you told me a little bit about it, but kind of like let's get into a little bit of that. Pretty much like not sewing related, just so people can see. You know what I'm saying? Like from like what's your creative position from?
Yeah. So my mother, we can talk about like family if you're interested. Like my mother came to this country from El Salvador. She was fleeing El Salvador during the Civil War in the 1980s.
Okay.
She actually had threats on her life. That's why she left. And you know, that's something that even us as first generation Americans are healing over. Like we're still learning how to heal through it. And there's actually a really wonderful movement that's happening now with a lot of us that were born in the 1980s that we're finding ourselves as entrepreneurs and as creatives, and we're finding each other and we're starting to lift each other up and help one another. I've been working with this organization called AFJA that does soccer programs for people in Central America, or kids in Central America.
Okay.
And there's a woman that I'm started working with that's writing a cooking book that's all about Salvadoran cooking.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's really exciting. And so connecting with my heritage in a way that I've never really been able to is really inspiring me. Because I one of the things that's true for, I think, a lot of people that have families that have immigrated to this country, they either assimilate into American culture or they dive really deep into their own culture and they stay there. Or if there's not much of their own culture, they'll find one that's similar and really like come in close to that community because it's safety at home, right? And so for Salvadorans, it's either going into Mexican culture or assimilating into American culture. And we very much assimilated into American culture. And, you know, there's not a lot of Salvadorans. And so I didn't have that connection growing up. But my mom would like teach me about food and tell me stories. But because she was still hurting from that trauma, she wouldn't feel safe, or she didn't know how to talk to me about it without reliving those traumas. Right. So she, I think, was more protecting me by not telling me about that stuff. Gotcha. But now that she's healing and I'm curious, we talk about it more. Yeah. And it inspires me. Like knowing that my mom's side of the family are not just native Papil people, but also they were farmers. Yeah. Like knowing they were farmers and like how my grandmother would make food for the family and like taught my mom how to sew clothes, and my mom would like sew her uniform every day. Like that has really, really inspired me, and it's part of why I started making clothes for myself. Yeah, honestly.
I'm so glad we getting on to that topic, because you saying you saw your mother sew clothes for you growing up, you was actually seeing it. So do you think that kind of steered you in a creative path to like make your own clothes too?
I think it has now. When I started thinking about making clothes, it came from me working on a puppet, and where my mom's influence for sewing came in is that when I started doing puppetry, I had to have a knowledge of sewing to some degree, right? Because a lot of puppets are sewn together by hand or by machine. And
let me stop you for a second. So when you say puppet, like you work with puppets?
Yeah.
For those that don't know.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So that's a little bit more of my creative background. So to really, I guess, go through my own bio a little bit more, I work professionally as a puppeteer. I've been working professionally as a puppeteer for the past 7 years, and I've worked for the Jim Henson Company. I've worked on Sesame Street.
Oh, wow.
For Sesame Street, I haven't puppeteered on there, but I have built puppets. I've built props and costumes, and I work on set as a job called a puppet wrangler, where we're basically like puppet builder Navy SEALs. Like if something happens to Elmo, like if he gets a tear somewhere in his fur, they hand him to me. I do a really quick stitch from the outside by hand, and then I give him. And it's a lot of like very quick, like, you know, that's why I say Navy SEAL, because we're just like working fast and like throwing stuff out. We also, you know, a lot of us are puppeteers, so we have to collaborate sometimes with a puppeteer to help them like they might be having a hard time figuring out how to work a prop or how to perform a certain movement. And we will collaborate with the puppeteer and say like, oh, well, you know what? If we just take the arm rod, and the arm rod is what connects the hand to like a prop, or it's what the puppeteer holds when they're holding the hand.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so that rod will sometimes be too long, and we might need to make it shorter so it's easier for them, or it's too short. We need to make it longer.
Gotcha.
Like we're there to solve those problems, so the puppeteer doesn't have to. The puppeteer focuses on just the performance and living in the moment. And that's where they should be, because you don't want, you know, Elmo's performer, who the person that performs Elmo is Ryan Dillon. He's got an Instagram. Go check him out. He posts stuff. But they, you know, so he needs to be relieved of that worry so that he can do his job.
Gotcha.
And I fill in that gap. And so that's a little bit of what I do. But I also perform. And I recently performed a character that I built and designed for the Sci-Fi Channel. It was a cat named Mr. Scribbles.
Okay.
And that was a lot of fun. I performed him, and I did the voice.
So you be doing the voices and then not make your mouth move and all that stuff too?
Oh, no. So you don't see me at all. And I basically, I hide away, and I got my hand up like this, and I walk around and talk like that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Wouldn't it be funny if we did the whole interview like this? Hi. What's up, everybody? Yeah. That'd be really weird. But yeah. So that's some of, you know, what I do. And I've been really fortunate that I've been invited to come back to work at the Henson Company, because that's where I really learned how to be a proficient craftsman as far as like sewing goes.
Okay.
One of the jobs I had to do, and I think, you know, your audience and you will understand this, like I had to build this fox puppet, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. Was all silk. All the fabric was silk.
So that's hard work week already.
Yeah, and all the grain had to go in the same direction across a puppet that had to look like origami. Now, his belly, we couldn't do fur. I couldn't fringe the silk because it would just explode everywhere.
Right.
So the way we solved it is we made tuxedo pleats. And so I had to make 30 tuxedo pleats down the belly with silk, and I'd never done it before.
Oh,
and
that's
so
interesting.
It was really tough, but what I didn't realize at the time is I was being introduced to, you know, tailoring. Right. I didn't realize it. But now that I'm making clothes for myself, which I just started like a month or so ago.
Hold on, a month?
Yeah.
Bruh, that's amazing, because I saw those pleated pants that you drafted yourself and you sold yourself that you posted today. Those workwear pants. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So you started making, I guess costumes for the puppets?
Bodies.
For those bodies, and then you just and then you got into garment sewing. Was that something that you was trying to work towards, or you was like, oh, I learned sewing, so maybe I could make clothes? Like, did you have an idea like that?
It was, yeah. So it basically, I was making this toilet paper roll puppet. Okay. And if you go to my Instagram page, you can see like a lot of these toilet paper roll puppets I was making. Yeah. And I thought it'd be really funny if this toilet paper roll puppet, you know, that's made of basically trash, has a beautiful costume. Okay. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make a jacket, and it's going to be awesome. And he's going to be like this sci-fi, like hard sci-fi retro jacket with like quilting on the sleeves and like all this cool stuff. And I was making it, and I've made like a jacket before for a puppet in the past, and I've done some light tailoring on stuff, just like fixing stuff. But yeah, with making a costume for a puppet, you can be really loose and dirty with a lot of stuff you do. You don't have to like, there doesn't have to be a lot of ease around the chest. It just has to fit, right? Exactly. So I made this jacket for this toilet paper roll puppet, and I was looking at it, and I was like, you know, if I can do this for the puppet, why can't I do this for me? This jacket's amazing. I love this jacket. And so I completely switched gears on what my at home, don't have a job right now project was. And I was like, wife, I'm going to buy some fabric. I'm going to buy 2 patterns. I'm going to make you a dress. I'm going to make me a jacket.
This it?
That's it.
Oh, this is dope. I don't want that jacket.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. Like I want that jacket too. I really do. I need to make it for myself sometime. But like it's I didn't realize how rewarding making my own clothing would be.
Right.
Like it's such a I've heard your story about discovering your love for making clothing. And I wonder if that was the same for you. Like, did you feel that when you first started making, you're just like, oh
Man,
my God.
Absolutely. I saw the feeling. Well, I had somewhat of the feeling by watching my wife do it when I first met her. I saw her taking fabric, cutting it, because I used to film that first year we met. I filmed all her tutorials. So I'm like getting amazed behind the camera, like, oh my God, it came together. Oh my God, that happened. Oh, that worked. Oh, you put the zipper in. Oh, and then it's finished at the end. It's like, oh my goodness. I just sat and watched this beautiful garment get made. And then I did it myself. So like that's like, oh, and then you're proud of yourself, you know what I'm saying, for learning this new skill. So yeah, I know exactly how you feel, man. And so your feeling is still pretty new. You said you only been doing it for like a month or so. So like that transformation from the puppet to actual garment, what was your first step? Like, did you like menswear? It's like, how did you find resources? Where did you look?
So I really love learning new things. That's one of my favorite things to do. And whenever I learn, whenever I fixate on something, I kind of become obsessed.
Gotcha.
And I go down that internet, YouTube, Google hole, and I just like sucked in forever.
It sucks you in.
Yeah. And so like I'm looking and looking and looking. And I first I searched for men's chore jacket, because that's what I knew that's what I wanted. I wanted a chore jacket.
Okay.
And I started looking for patterns, and you did one of their shirt patterns. I'm blanking on the name of these guys. They're a British textile company that does patterns. They
Merchant and Mills?
Merchant Mills.
Yeah.
That's right.
The All-State?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I found them, which turned out great, by the way. It looked really good.
Yeah.
So I found those patterns, and I looked at them, and I was like, these look right. Like the way that it's hanging on their models, this looks like what I want to make.
Right.
And I bought those, and before even touching the patterns, I just started watching videos on how do you set a sleeve, how do you do buttonholes. Like, even though I already know how to make buttonholes, I really wanted to like watch people do it. And give my mind time to digest that new knowledge. Because I really believe that like if you want to learn something new, half of that battle is ingesting the knowledge, like reading it or watching it, and then just taking a break and letting your mind process it and let that really sink in. And so every night, while I'm laying in bed, I would watch a video of like some old lady like sewing in the zipper, or somebody just like cutting fabric a certain way, like that's what I did. And once I felt like I was ready, printed out the patterns, cut them out, and just got to town. And also, Merchant Mills has great instructions with their patterns.
Amazing. The visuals, and also, the write-up. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. And so I used that, and I also have already a good working knowledge of fabrics and what I like to work with. And so I went to Mood Fabrics, because that's, in my area.
Right.
So I went there, found some fabrics I liked, brought those home, and just started working. And I also have a lot of friends who are tailors, because a lot of the people that make the full beautiful costumes for them, like tailored suits and tuxedos, like Elmo has tuxedos. He has like 4 tuxedos, which is hilarious. But the people who make those are real tailors. Oh, wow. And I just started reaching out to them saying like, hey, I'm having an issue with this. Or when I started my jacket, I bought tweed, but I'd never worked with tweed. And I just call out, hey, tailor friends, how do I work with tweed? What do I do? And they're like, oh, you got to steam it, and you got to do this, you got to do that. I was like, oh, I had no idea that I had to prep fabric.
Yes.
So with puppets, you don't have to.
Right.
You just put it on. Yeah. But then I was like, oh, I got to machine wash my stuff before I sew it? Okay. So I learned that. And I think because I already have a background in sewing and in production in that way,
Okay.
that helped me move quickly to learning this new craft.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great. You was already used to the machine because you had worked with it before, obviously, for
Yeah.
making the stuff for the puppets. Like, so what kind of machine were you working on at the time? Did you have to change the machine, or you still working on your same machine right now? Or what's going on?
So right now, my wife inherited her grandmother's Kenmore 22, which is like
Mm.
from the 1970s or 80s.
Oh, wow.
And it's a good machine. Like it's sturdy, it's a little loud, but it's a good
Wow.
machine. And the ones that I worked with and really learned a lot off of at the Jim Henson Company were Berninas and industrial machines. So like really nice machines.
Okay.
But still like this Kenmore where you don't have a digital screen. It's all just dials and like, you know, the machine might have its own preferred tension. Like a 5 might be more like a 4. And you just got to like know that about the machine. Like this Kenmore, I rarely adjust the tension when switching fabrics because it's an older machine and it doesn't really have much of a difference. And
Got you.
I just got to say it the way I said it. So yeah, long story short, I've been working on that same machine that I have now.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. So, so finding these resources outside of having these tailors accessible to, like, you know, to answer certain questions and answer you, and you know, and just give you a little guidance because you was sort of new to the garments. Did you have any issues like looking anywhere else? Like, did you go into Joann's looking for other patterns? Did you try to find more other guys that was doing this? Like, how was your experience in that first, you know what I'm saying, a couple of weeks?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was just trying to find as much resources as I possibly could. A big one for me has been books. Anytime I have an issue, I will open up that book and just like try to see if it answers the question. If not, I don't know what, sorry. Oh, sorry. I started fidgeting with an object and I was making noise. My wife was like, stop that, stop doing it. I got to move it away from me now.
My wife is doing the same thing to me, man, so it's fine.
They love us. They love us.
Yeah, I know, right?
So they want us to be our best, and I love that about them, about my wife. She's beautiful. I love her so much. Anyway, so where was I? Yeah. So books were really helpful, but if I couldn't find the answer that I was looking for, videos helped. But then, like, reaching out to my community is really helped. Like, just putting up stuff and saying, like, I'm having a problem with this. What do I do? And they would always answer it. Also, you know, to plug your YouTube channel, watching people work, like watching you just work on a pattern and review it, helps me understand stuff. Just learning the terminology and watching not just like, I'm going to sew this thing, but watching how your hands are set on the fabric when you're doing it.
Gotcha.
Or seeing what you're pulling or what you're holding to make something work. Like a part of, and what I've learned through the different art forms that I do, a part of getting good at a craft is watching how people use their body when they're working on whatever they're doing. Like painting, you know, you don't just move your wrist around, you paint from your shoulder.
Yeah.
And that's where you paint, you use your whole body, right? And so in sewing, it's, you know, you don't push the fabric through, you let them guide, and you sort of like, it's like riding a horse. You got to like work with the movement of the machine. Gotcha. And that's the kind of stuff that watching people work really helps you understand. And so watching your videos, watching random, you know, there's a lot of like learning that come out from it. I don't know why, but I love it.
Hold on a second. Oh, go ahead.
Am I back?
Yeah, we good now. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just saying, I love watching videos, and they're super, super helpful. Yeah, that's the way I figured out. And then I also will, everything that I make, I'll make a muslin version first. And
Smart man.
I love doing that.
Smart
it's what
man.
I do. It's what we do at Henson. Like, we will build a puppet out of the cheap material and see if it works. And then we'll build it for real out of the real stuff, because we do not have, you know, you don't have like as much yardage as what you want of this hand dyed like $400 a yardage of fabric. Like you just don't. And so you got to go, okay, give me the cheap craft fur and we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
exactly. And so that's what I'm doing at home. I'll go buy, you know, $100 worth of fabric for my pants.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make it in muslin first to really make sure I know what I'm doing, that the fit is right, and making sure stuff works. Like I bought a pattern for my wife that was going to be these pants, these trousers.
Okay.
And I made them in the size they were supposed to be, and they didn't fit. Nothing was working right. And I did them a second time out of muslin, and they still didn't fit. And that's what led me to go, you know what? I just need to sit down and learn how to draft patterns. I have to do that.
Oh, okay.
And
so that was the pattern draft inspiration.
Yes, that was the pattern draft inspiration. And I have a book called Patterning for Fashion Design. And that's the book that's helping me really understand how to draft a pattern. Yeah, I feel like I went on a little bit of a ramble there.
Oh, no, that was great, man. That's really good information, because guys that are listening that might not be sewing, or women that may not have been exposed to menswear yet, it's just good for them to hear just stories on, you know, the way you work with certain things. So since you've been working, what's been like your favorite fabrics to work with for garments?
So far, since I haven't, you know, been working with garments that long, but so this is what I've done. I've worked with tweed, I've worked with twill, and my wife's dress was a knit linen. And the knit, like that, like if you look at it on my Instagram page, it looks just like blue. When you look up close, it's this beautiful like weaving of like a dark navy and a medium blue, and like it's really, really wonderful. Sorry, my wife just dropped some soda. Oh, she's like, don't tell them that. Don't tell me my business. Don't tell them my business. But anyways, yeah. So like, I really like those fabrics, and the tweed I worked with was pretty easy because it didn't have a very clear pattern, and so
I love tweed.
Oh, here she brought it over. See, this is the dress. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, okay, I see it.
You can kind of see it. It's got this knit, and this one has a grain line that you can really, really see well. And I think that me working with furs actually helped me know what to do with these grain lines, because when you're working with a fur, like, you know, like it has a specific grain line. Yeah. The fur wants to fall in a specific direction. And when we make a puppet like Elmo, all that fur has to go in a specific direction. But it also has to fit a round shape. So you have to pattern it in a way where it all lines up so that all the fur goes the direction you want it to go.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's helped me with lining up these grain lines. Like, I'm actually really proud of how well the dress lines up, because I really took my time with it.
That's an amazing story, man. I mean, I've had a lot of creative people on here. I've had a doctor, attorneys, designers, like all type of people, and it's interesting because you coming from that background, I necessarily didn't look at like a puppet on TV and be like, oh, someone actually sold that. But yeah, someone actually made it. Elmo has fur on him, and that's fur, and that's something that you have to sew up to make that. And you did the transition into garment sewing. That's an amazing story, man. That's very inspiring, man. And yeah, so doing in this transition, what has been like one of those, like a technique that's been most challenging? Because I know you use certain techniques with the puppets, but with garment sewing, you have these welt pockets, you have all these different things. Like what has been something that's been challenging to you?
Ooh, there's been a couple of things. With these trousers that I made, it was the zipper. The zipper was really confusing because I'm also dyslexic, a little bit dyslexic, and
same here, man. See, baby, see, you see,
yeah,
same here.
Yes. It was so confusing. Like, I'm trying to, I'm looking at the pants, and they're mirrored of like what I'm wearing. So I'm like looking at my pants. when I was making them, I kept undoing my jeans and looking at them and then looking at the stuff. And I was like,
I do that all the time, bro.
There's like neighbors out the windows that are like, why does this guy keep exposing himself to his own pants? What is he doing? But I'm there, like, you know, that was really challenging, but I purposefully didn't rush anything. I was like, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to measure everything like 4 times in a row.
Yes.
And that really helped me. And now I feel like I understand the zipper better. Right. I don't know it enough to where like I could just sit down and do a zipper. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm getting better at it. And then an ongoing project that I have going over here is I really want to make a gender neutral skirt.
Okay.
And I want it, but I still want it to feel a little bit masculine.
Right.
In a way, like, I don't want to say masculine in sort of like a gendered sense. And I don't even know how to like fully explain what I'm exactly going for, but there's a designer, this Japanese designer that uses, he makes these skirts that come from an inspiration from Hakama pants that have these really beautiful, like very sturdy looking pleats in them.
Okay.
And I'm taking that and trying to make a skirt for a man or woman, and I also want pockets on the sides.
Okay.
And so like
kind of on the lines of like a kilt almost?
Almost, but man, I wish that do I even have it? I might have it sitting right here, and I just don't know it.
How long have you been working on it?
I do have it right here. So a little bit, I drafted the pattern for it and then made a muslin version of it, and I need to come back to it because I switched to pants. Yeah. But you can't really see it very well. You're not going to be able to see this very well at all.
Oh, I see the pleats. I see the pleats right there.
The pleats are really, really big.
Yeah.
And they're pretty wide. They're about that wide. And the stitch from the waistband down is pretty long. It stops down right there.
I see it.
And the thing that made this so hard is that with a skirt, there's actually a formula. You already know this, but like there's a formula to finding how many pleats you want to do for the length of the skirt. There's like
a calculation.
Yeah, there's like a calculation for it. And I was trying to use that to find for this much wider width, but the calculation doesn't quite work. And so I was like trying to like muscle it and make it work, and it came together. Like it works and it fits me, but the pleats don't line up the way I want them to at all. And I stepped back at it and I was like, okay, I need to like take a break and not try to like invent the wheel, right now. I need to learn the basics. So I stepped away and I'm made these trousers. I'm just going to work my way towards doing it. So you're going to back up a little bit and try to move and try to work your way back to that project. Yeah. But I'm excited about it. Like, it's going to have this cool, like, I want this cool, like, little thing there.
Okay.
And I've got, like, these belt loops. And, like, I've got this, look at this rad pocket. It's like a weird square triangle pocket on the outside. Yeah. And it, like, comes right on the pleat so that the pleat is what helps the pocket open. Like,
details, man. That's those
details. I was
details.
trying to, like, really get in there with it, but I need to, like, get better before I got to get better before I get good. That's that's basically the thing. Yeah.
So what's a future project for you? Like, I know you mentioned the jacket that you made from the puppet, and you that was inspiration to get into garment sewing. But outside of that, like, what's a project that's like a goal of yours? Like, you know what? I'm going to be so happy once I make this. Yeah. So my dream for my wife and I is to completely replace our wardrobe. I want to like make enough clothes to where like we just have everything we need. And I like, whenever I dream, I always dream probably too big, but I'd like to go there. And so that's step one. Not such thing.
No. And so you're so right. There's no such thing as dreaming too big. You should always dream as big as you want it. But then the next step beyond that, like, I really want to make clothing for myself, and I'm playing with the idea of making clothing for others that have the artist in mind. And so making something that is utilitarian, yes, but not to the point where it looks like, oh, this is the clothing a railroad worker would wear,
Gotcha.
or this is the clothing that someone that is a hunter would wear. Like, it doesn't look ugly and over utilitarian. Like, I want it to look utilitarian or be utilitarian, but I want it to look stylish as well.
Okay.
And I would love to make stuff that's like specific, like, oh, you're a painter. Great. Like, let's talk about what pockets you need. Or you work with puppets.
I like
Let's
that.
talk about what you need. Like, I want the garments to fit your profession so that while you're in the studio, a friend of mine had this great analogy for it. It's clothing that you can take from the workplace to, or from the workshop to the workplace. And I like,
Gotcha.
You are in your shop, you're working your stuff, you're like, oh, dang, I got to go, like, meet my my partner's parents. And you can just, like, hop out the door and go. You still look nice.
Gotcha.
Like, I think that's totally obtainable.
Yeah,
and
so you want to make stuff that you can actually use, but actually look stylish in too. Very
Right.
functional.
Yes. Yeah.
All
That's
right.
the big goal. big dream.
All right. So would you be designing these things? So you're looking more so coming like with a little collection, or doing like one-off pieces, custom work for individuals?
I don't know.
Okay.
I need to figure that out. Like, there's this romanticism in me where I see myself as like an 80-year-old who has like a tailoring shop, and I'm like making stuff for people bespoke and special. But then there's also this other side where I'm like, oh, how cool would it be to have like a collection that like I sell? But I don't know.
The dope thing about it is that you're only a month in,
Right.
So like, just learn as much as you can. Make as many garments as you can too, because that was something that was very helpful for me in the beginning. I used to sew a new garment every time I sewed, and making a new garment every time you sewed, you're learning new techniques, because you have to work through it to get the finished product. And if you don't get the finished product, you have to go back to the drawing table and see what you did wrong to fix it to get what you to get what you wanted to make. So in that process, I probably wouldn't have known to, hey, let me go learn this specific technique. I wouldn't have known to just go do those different things. I learned it in the process of making a full garment. So that just kept me sharp, and it just kept me, interested too, because my wife and I, we don't like making the same garment all the time. So having something new, having something fresh, and also everything that I did, I was just learning. So I'm excited for you, and it's just amazing how much your background helped with you in this process.
And I appreciate you saying all that. I really do. That's really inspiring. And like, I also, just want to take a moment and say that I appreciate you for doing what you're doing. Like, creating that Dope Men Sew page, it almost felt like I found that exactly when I needed it. And seeing like your YouTube channel, and I love what you're doing with these Instagram live chats, because, as a man who sews, like, there's not a lot out there for us as far as like patterns go in menswear.
Right.
And when you look at the ecosystem of like sewers, it's mostly women, and there's like nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But you go to like watch some videos, and it's all skirts. It's like a woman who's just making like women's clothing. Yeah. And if I'm looking to make a pair of pants for myself, there's not a place that's like, yeah, we're a bunch of men who sew together and we support each other, we love each other, and that's what we do. And
we have the same passion.
Yeah, and I love that. I really appreciate you for that. And
that's very important. Right now, I think we're going to kind of like open up for a few questions. You see any questions, baby?
Is this his sister, Cassandra?
No, that's my wife.
Oh, he said before my mom passed away. Oh, so before her mom passed away, she showed you some puppetry, some costuming?
Yeah.
In New York City on cats.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, Cassie's mom has an amazing story and an incredible history with New York City. Her mom moved here in the 1980s and was a costumer and worked at Shakespeare in the Park. making beautiful costumes. And she also worked on the wigs on cats. And like,
Wow.
that just like is incredible. She was such an inspiration. And anytime I had a question about, like the first time I made a jacket for a puppet, I went to her because I was like, I keep seeing sleeve patterns have this weird shape. Why is that? And she broke it down for me, you know?
Sleeve
And I was
cap,
like, why isn't it just a circle? Like coming from puppet building, like we just make circles and sew it on.
Got
But
you.
when she taught me that, it all clicked. And then what's funny is when I went to Henson, started working there, a lot of the patterns like look like traditional sewing patterns. So
Okay.
like the arms are set in the same way that a jacket sleeve is set in. And the reason for that, I can show you, is because like our arms don't go straight out, right?
Right.
Our arms come down, and that's why you have this pattern shape. So for a puppet's arm to lay flat in a beautiful way and look natural, it's done a lot like a sleeve on a jacket or a shirt is done. And because she helped break down why that is the way it is and how it's set in and all these reasons, it helped me as a worker at the Henson shop.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
You have
crazy.
another one, baby?
No.
Let me see what we have in here. I did see one right here. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, she already answered that.
Puppetry is an interesting career.
Yeah, my wife's in there killing the questions. She's she's my backup.
Oh, man, I can't even find it. Where is it? Boom, boom, boom. Because I don't want to miss anybody's questions. Well, anyway, if y'all have questions now, you can put them in the question box where you see the box with a question mark, and I'll pull it up, or you can just put them in the comments. So, yeah, somebody asked that. Yeah, yeah. Is your wife interested in sewing? I know someone had already asked that, but
she doesn't. She's shaking her head no.
she said she's more into words.
Yeah, I know. Like she does say to me like last night she was telling me how me sewing so much is reminding her of her mom, and she just really loves watching it, and it's very comforting, like seeing and seeing me work on it, and like hearing the sounds of the sewing machine is very familiar for her. Like her mom made her prom dress and would like
Wow.
her costume, during high school. Like
Yeah.
her mom moved back to Oklahoma, which is where my wife is from, and was an art teacher. And she also worked in the theaters there as well. But when Cassie was born, she was teaching, started teaching and all that, and made a ton of clothes for her. And it was all amazing and beautiful. Like she was such a talented woman.
And she has the bar so high for you. Now when you start making garments for her.
I knew I had
No,
to, right? That's why I make everything in muslin, because it's got to be perfect. Because she knows.
They got to be perfect. She knows.
Where the what was? Oh, this is funny. So like I have never measured people really, and I was like trying to learn how to do it. And I was trying to measure my wife, and I was like, let me measure your waist. And I put the thing around her waist. And she's like, that's not where my waist is. I was like, sure? I don't know about that. She's like, no, it's up here. And she explained to me how to find a waist. And I was like, oh. And that's just because she grew up around it. So she knows, right?
Yeah.
And there have been little moments where she's like, well, can't you just do this? And I'm just like, no. Oh, wait. Yeah, you can.
Maybe
okay.
I can.
All right.
Oh, so she knows enough. She knows enough
She
to
knows
know
enough.
if it's right or if it's wrong.
Yes, like she can look at it and say, no, that's not right, or no, that doesn't fit right. Like she understands that completely because her mom has,
Right.
she's heard that from being around her mom doing
Yeah,
that.
she's probably seen it and heard it so much, she just knows it without even knowing it.
Yeah. I got a question for you, man.
What's going
So,
on? Let's
let's get into it. So you said earlier that you were recording the videos of your wife creating stuff. Like, what was your background before you started sewing?
So my background before I started sewing was styling. I was a wardrobe stylist. So music videos, photo shoots, magazine covers, all that good stuff. I worked with GQ magazine, a ton of different artists and stuff. And I was just so keen to detail because people knew me for my style, right? My wife, she laughing because she says king is my favorite word. Don't do that.
Every chance he gets.
But like I said, I was keen to detail, and even with just fit. So like the smallest quarter inch made a big difference when styling someone. So I would go to my tailor. I would have custom stuff made. I would have lining taken out and different lining put in. I would have my V-neck vest made into U-necks, and all the tailor was doing all this work, and I never thought that I could do it. So when I met my wife and she was actually making it, and I'm like, hold on, this is all the stuff that I get my tailor to do, and she's teaching it. So like that full year, I can kind of relate to you when you were saying that you just sit there and you watch the videos and just to get going, and then you say, okay, now I'm ready for this. For a while, I didn't even tell her that I wanted to do it because I'm just filming her stuff, and I'm editing it. So I film it and I'm editing it. And so I'm like looking at it twice. So I'm learning all this stuff, and I'm just like, man, I feel like I could do it because she teaches so easy. You know what I'm saying? Like she makes it so easy and so simple to understand. So I'm like, man, I could do this. And then I'm looking at the community. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of creative people, and I'm like, man, like some of these old people in here making all this dope stuff. I'm like, man, I could probably make it too. And it hit me, and it was like, man, I think I want to do this. So like that was my background styling, and I was known for my personal style. So I think that was a lot more pressure on me too, because if someone knows me for my style and they found out that I'm making garments, those garments got to look good, you know?
Yeah.
So that was something that kept me on my toes too. And I was fortunate to have the sewing queen, you know, at my disposal right there, you know?
That's so good. That's such a great story. I love it so much. I really love that you were watching her videos and like thinking, ooh, I gotta do this, but not telling her. Like you were just like, ooh, I gotta wait till like my mind is ready, and then I'm gonna jump in there and making stuff. That's so cool.
Yeah, and it actually came a full circle moment for me when I met her too, because when I graduated out of high school, and you know, my mom was taking me to different colleges, you know, saying to tour them. The one thing I wanted to do, I wanted to go to a fashion school. I wanted to be some type of designer or something. Yeah. And I was just too afraid to tell her because I didn't know too many guys that did that. It was going to fashion school. I would hear like all the girls talking about it. So like, man, I was like, man, maybe I just go into marketing or accounting or something because I was good with numbers. But after a while, and people start knowing me for my style, I'm like, man, I probably should have just did fashion. And then I met my wife, and it all, you know what I'm saying, made sense. It all made sense.
Yeah.
And I think, and I think that's one thing that sometimes I think men are visual too. You know, like if we don't see men doing it, we don't think it's for men. You know, like if we go to Joann's and all the sewing machines are named after women and they pink and they look girly and all that stuff, we don't think these are men's sewing machines. So I mean, I know it might be closed-minded to think, but sometimes you really need to see yourself. Sometimes, you know, you might need to see another guy doing it or another guy that looks like you doing it. My wife and her whole community, like it's tons and tons of creative people making garments and sharing. But I haven't seen that many, you know what I'm saying, guys doing it. So it's just something that means a lot to me right now because I enjoy it. I love designing. I love working with my hands. I love working with the sewing machine. I love cutting my fabric. I love the process of it. And if a lot more men would hear more stories like mine, like yours, and like all the other guests that I have on, I think it would inspire them to try it out. Because I know a lot of guys love fashion and love style. If they introduce the sewing, maybe they might want their own stuff, you know? So, yeah, man, I'm inspired by your story just as much as you're inspired by mine.
Yeah, and you touched a really, really great point. Like representation matters, right? Like if we do not see ourselves in the profession or on the TV screen or in something that we feel a little bit interested in, we won't think that that's for us.
Absolutely.
And that's a big part of like what we're seeing in the world right now, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you look at Sesame Street, even like just to bring that back to them, I guess, but like their big thing right now is representation, and they're just like not just what you see on camera. Like it's not just about having a puppet of color; it's also about having puppeteers of color.
Yeah.
Because representation matters. It's not just about diversity; it's about representation.
Absolutely.
And that's true not just with your heritage or the color of your skin. That's also with what your gender identity is. Like you've got to have that representation. And if it isn't there, you're going to go, well, maybe that's not for me.
Maybe
like
not for me.
Maybe fashion is just for people who identify being very feminine. Maybe that's all that is.
Yeah.
But that's not true. Like I am really excited about making a circle skirt for my wife.
Right.
I'm so stoked about that. But like when you watch people who are really into making dresses, like most of them, a lot of them are very feminine. At least the ones that I see on YouTube or even like Project Runway and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so you don't see a guy like me, or like you, who is a masculine dude that wants to make a dress, or like make a skirt that like looks really good on a woman's figure. And so that's what really drew me to what you were doing. And you weren't like doing it in a, oh, I'm a bro, this is for men, and like, this is, reverse sexism, blah, 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 like that kind of stuff. It was like coming from a kind, loving place of like, no, this is an area of representation that is necessary. And I'm surprised, on your page, there's a lot of men of color in there. Yeah. And that's really cool. Like that, again, made me go like, this is the place for me. As a person of color, this is the place for me. This is where I belong. And I felt so comfortable from the get-go to just start saying like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm making. The guy, man, I'm starting to like just like get flooded by these thoughts from the thing. But like the guy that was on there, I forget his name, who said he posted how him and his daughter were being featured in Simplicity magazine. And like, I was just, my heart was moved
too. Yes.
Oh, you should. Cause like to share that with your daughter is huge. And to be a man, to just like be open to that and accepting to it, but also not like trying to sugarcoat anything or change who you are, just like being who you are and expressing that with your daughter is so important. It's so important.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, man. That's amazing. And that's what keeps me inspired and encouraging to share more of y'all's stories, because I'm just as inspired by y'all too, because everybody has a different background, and they have a different way of falling into this sewing journey. And one thing I do want to tell guys, like sewing is you working with your hands. Like you're not working with some little strongy, stuff. I mean, like you working with a machine, you working with scissors, hammers, you put in snaps and all that stuff. So it's a lot of stuff involved. So if guys understood that, maybe that would, kind of click a little bit. Before we go, I was listening to this podcast the other day, and this guy had made a joke about him being at home ec and sewing, and he was like, man, I'm not sewing. Like he said, I skipped the class the entire time, and they just laughed it off. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, it's a whole new world now, and people just have to slowly understand that. And I think we're doing a great job with having people like yourself on and telling your experiences, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this. I know I've been saying it and praising, everything you've been doing, but I really mean it. I love what you're doing. I really appreciate you having me on this because, we've got to hear everyone's creative stories from all different backgrounds, because that's just going to inspire those who need it. Like the little kid I was being interviewed in this podcast, and I was telling them how I'm excited as a first generation Salvadoran American. I'm excited to share my story and help lift up the younger people, because I didn't have that when I was a kid. And I didn't see people on TV that looked like me, and I didn't see people doing the things that I wanted to do that look like me. So now that I'm like at this place where I feel like not a burden, but like a really joyful responsibility. And I can see that in what you're doing as well. And I commend you for it.
Appreciate it, man. Oh, shout out to Sins of Many. What's up, man? He was a guest last week.
Oh, Dad.
Yeah, he just got on. But before I let you go, what would you tell another guy that might be interested in sewing or might not be interested in sewing? That hey, this is a community and it's for us. And like, how would you like encourage him or inspire him to come in and sew or design or do something in fashion that he's inspired to do?
Ooh, that's a great question. Like if I were talking to you and you were like interested and like, man, I love those pants that you just made, I'd probably say something like, sewing a straight line is pretty easy. It's not that hard. I can show you how. And you'll end up saving more money. Okay. It'll look so much better on you. And if you don't think you'll have a butt, you'll have a butt after you make some good pants. Like you will look good in what you make and you'll feel good in what you make. And your confidence will be seen by those who you want to be seen by that. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's where I'd start. And then I'd probably like show them examples and get them hyped up on like clothes and be like, look at this guy, look how good he looks. Go to Norris's page, look at that guy, look how good he looks. Like that dude's rocking a bright solid and a crazy patterned pants. Look at that man. He's amazing. You know, like because I think that it just seeing somebody excited about a craft can get somebody else excited too. Yeah. And especially if they're really kind about it. And that's probably where I would start, is just like be excited with them, make them feel safe being excited. And if there's anybody out there that's listening right now, like just if you want to sew and you're curious about it, buy an inexpensive machine and just start doing it. Like you don't have to buy the Bernina. You don't have to buy the super fancy machine. Just get yourself a machine and start making stuff. Yeah, like just get busy. Yep, make some math. Start there.
I saw a post this just came in. It said, "How do you overcome the idea of perfection?" Because I can see you a perfectionist in just your work. So like, how do you overcome the idea of that?
Yeah. So I learned a while ago, because I do obsess about things. I can't obsess about like a line. Like when I'm also an illustrator, and I really got so obsessed about how perfect a line had to be in my drawing. And it didn't help my art. Like it didn't make me a better artist by obsessing over that perfection. And becoming a puppeteer, what I learned was that a lot of times the fabric or the material isn't going to work the way that you expected it to. Like what you drew, what you sketched isn't going to come out the same way as you envisioned it, right? Once you start putting all that stuff together and seeing it. And so you have to do, and this is a quote that everybody knows from Bruce Lee, you have to flow like water, right? You got to like flow with it. You got to see what the fabric wants to do. What does the flow want to do, right? Yeah. And so once you see what it wants, once I started seeing, once I started accepting that and doing what one of my puppeteer mentors did, or would tell me, which is embrace the mistakes and let those not be a mistake, but a design choice. Yes. And so if I'm sewing something, like I was just hemming the cuffs of my pants, and I wanted like perfect rolled pants, like the stitched cuff that was like rolled up and you couldn't see the seam on the inside and all that, right? But it's also a tapered leg. So when I'm sewing it, getting ready for the fold, it's gonna like crinkle over. And so what I had to do was embrace that and let it be a part of the design aesthetic. And so that's now a design choice. Man, so now a perfect answer. In the cuff, there's a little fold in there, but it just looks like it's part of the design. Yeah. So I think that is how you get over perfectionism. You look at what the material is telling you, and you then say, okay, now can I make this a design choice? Gotcha. If it's not working in a design choice, then you might have to pivot away from that thing you think this has to have. Right. Because a mountain won't move out of your way. Like you got to figure out how to get up or around. Like you're not going to make the mountain move. Yeah. That's awesome, man. We only have a few moments now. Before we close out, I want to
again, thank you, David, for coming on. Thanks for sharing your story, and you're only at the beginning. I can't wait to have you back on maybe a year from now and see all the amazing things that you're doing. Also, if you not a part of Dope Men Soul Facebook group, go sign up. And like I said, it's a place where we share information, we share resources, and we also share inspiration. And last, I want to thank. I want to congratulate my wife, Mimi G Style, and also Brittany J today for dropping Melanated Fabrics. Melanated Fabrics will be open for business next Friday, and I can't wait to see that happen. So if you're not following Melanated Fabrics, go to either her page or my page, and you'll see it, and just go follow it. So I guess that's it. It's been a good chat with you, Dave. I can't wait to talk more in the DMs and all that good stuff, and share information, and also in the Facebook group. So thank you. Anything else? Anything you want to announce? Anything before we leave?
Ooh, I am doing workshops, and this coming Monday, I'm doing a hand sewing workshop.
Oh.
And it's going to be focused on puppetry, but all of these stitches come from what I've learned from tailors who made the costumes on the Dark Crystal, and who made costumes in all the Muppet movies. So like, these are a lot of basic hand stitches, but a few very complicated ones that can really elevate your craft in a way.
How can people sign up?
Great. So on my Instagram account, I have a link in my bio that will take you to a page full of a bunch of links, and there's an Eventbrite. You can sign up for it there. And the event will be live through Zoom. You'll come on. I'll go through each of the different stitches, and at the end, we'll have a Q&A. So if there's like a stitch that you have issues with, we can talk about it. If there's a stitch that I didn't talk about that you're curious about, we can talk about that too, and maybe learn it together. Who knows? But yeah, if you go to my link in my bio, it'll take you to an Eventbrite page where you can sign up. And that's this Monday at 7 o'clock, right, dear? I think. The link will tell you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited about that. Thank you so much. And,
thank you.
Appreciate everybody watching another episode of Dope Men Soul. And we will see you next week. All right? I'm out.